Thanks, Hera. I am so excited to be here with everyone tonight. So, I'd love to share a little bit about myself. My name is Megan Hallett. I am originally from San Diego, California. I've lived in Denver, Colorado for the past 5 years. I'm 23 years old. I have a background in mental health and education. I was a caregiver for adults with disabilities, and I used to work at a school. Now I run my real estate investing business full time. A little bit more about me. I love traveling. This is a picture of my good friend Vanessa and I. Last year we traveled to Germany together. I met her through this investor community and now we get to travel the world together. Oh, hi. I just saw Alvin say he loves me. I love you too, Alvin. I love animals. I plan on opening an animal rescue in the future. I love swing dancing. I love tennis. I love living in Colorado. It is one of the most beautiful places in the country. So if you haven't been, I would highly recommend it. That's just a little about me and my background.
Awesome. I guess moving on here, what exactly inspired you to take action on the education? You obviously already had a busy life working full time. What was your motivation to engage with Renatus?
Yeah, I definitely was super busy. I was going to college full time getting my degree in psychology. I was working full time with the as a caregiver for with adults with disabilities. I was working at the school part time. It was definitely really busy and I really enjoyed what I did when I was a caregiver, but they told me that with my bachelor's degree, I was capped at $13 an hour. And I was working 24-hour shifts at this really physically and mentally exhausting job. So when they told me that $13 an hour was basically the cap on what I was going to make, that was when I started to look for something different. Real estate had always interested me, so I kind of stumbled into Renatus accidentally. I was looking for a job in property management on Craigslist, and someone had posted an ad saying, "Hey, we're a local group of investors expanding into Denver. We're looking for more people who want to invest in real estate." And I didn't even really understand what that was at the time. I didn't know how it was different than being a real estate agent or anything like that. So when I came down to the group, a lot of things struck me and a lot of things inspired me to take the action to actually get involved. One was actually seeing a way that I could become financially independent and I could gain the freedom of my time so I could do more of the things that I love to do. Another was the community support. It was mind boggling to me how many people there were across the country who wanted to, be support you and encourage you and work cooperatively with you to do more real estate. This picture on this slide is just a small, very small fraction of our Denver group. And so those people have been a huge support to me in building my business to make it full time in real estate. I really enjoyed the idea of working from home. It's really funny, but one of my main motivations when I first got into real estate and working from home was the concept of not having to drive to work in the snow because I live in Colorado now and granted the winters here are really not that bad compared to some other places, but I'm a California girl at heart and I hated the idea of having to wake up at 6 in the morning, spend 30 minutes scraping snow off my car, driving to work, and then having to do it again when I drove home. So the prospect of working from home was really attractive to me. And then lastly, but most importantly, I would say is the ability to truly make a difference. I just realized I can have more of an impact on the world if I am financially independent and have free time and I can build a nonprofit or do something like that than if I'm working 40 to 50 hours a week for somebody else, making an income that they determine for me. So that's what kind of got me inspired to actually begin this whole journey.
That's awesome. Before we get started on the details of this deal, I just wanted to let everybody know that the earnings on the real estate investments that Megan is about to share are strictly to tell the facts of her story. We're not here to make any income guarantees. Investing of any kind comes with inherent risk, and that's the very reason why we invest the time and money into our education, even then there's no guarantees. So Megan, since making the commitment to your education and putting that into action, what are some of the things that you've accomplished? What does your life look like now?
Oh, it is so exciting. I have quite a few things going on right now. This next slide is my most recent deal. So I live in Denver And I bought a duplex in Kansas City, and a lot of people have asked me, how did you even land on Kansas City? You're not from there. You didn't know anyone who lived there. And all I can say, it was totally the community aspect of this group. I was at one of our investor conferences back in March, and I had already landed on Kansas City, and I didn't know how I was going to go about it. I picked it for a lot of different reasons, but I didn't know anyone there. And I was kind of just meeting people at this conference, and these two guys came up and introduced themselves to me. And they were like, "Hey, like we're from Kansas City. That's where we live. That's where we're buying rental properties." And I was like, "No kidding." So they invited me to come stay with them over Memorial Day. They showed me the whole city. They showed me which parts of town I should look in, which parts of town I should stay away from. Just gave me the lay of the land because it was a new city to me. And with that, I felt confident to start putting offers in over the summer. And I got a few offers accepted. I decided to go with this duplex in the picture. My business partner and I purchased this duplex cash, with all cash. We paid $64,500. We rehabbed it, and it cost about 10 grand, and then our other costs were about 1,000. It only cost about $200 to close because we had paid cash for it, and then we have a couple months of utilities in there, insurance, things like that. And originally, we had purchased this duplex with the intention of renting it out long term. We were going to put tenants in both of the units, and our cash flow was going to be right around $1,000 a month. And so we'd be splitting that. So 500 for me, 500 for my partner. But then we realized that we kind of had over leveraged ourselves with our cash a little bit, and we wanted that cash back to go out and do something else. For me, I want to buy a small apartment building, 8 to 12 units. That's what I'm working on right now. And my partner wanted to actually move to an investment in El Paso, Texas. So, because we had negotiated this so well and gotten such a good deal on this house, there was a lot of equity in it, and we decided that instead of renting it out long term, we were just going to flip it instead. So, in our classes, we learned to have at least 3 exit strategies every time we're putting an offer on a house. So, what would it look like if we had to flip it? What would it look like if we had to rent it? What would it look like if we had to wholesale it? What would it look like if we had to do a lease option? Something like that. And so we had looked into all those things, and so that was really beneficial in the end because our plan A didn't end up working for us, and we went with our plan B, which was flipping the property. So we're actually selling it to another investor in our community for $115,000. We're expecting to close on it this month. So our profit, let's see, that will come up, will be $39,500. That will be split between my partner and I. So that's an ROI of 52.3%. Not bad. And me personally, I only invested about 15 grand of my own money into this deal, and I didn't have that money sitting in my bank account. So I'll go more into that a couple slides down the road. So let's see. So here's the before and after of one of the rooms in the duplex. This was probably the grossest room in the house. It was the bathroom. It it was so bad because the owner before us, you could tell that the way they fixed everything was just putting duct tape, duct tape it and it's all fixed. There was 3 layers of that really weird tile stuff where you can rip off all the tile in one piece, like 3 layers of it, because he would get water damage and he'd just put another layer, and then he'd get water damage and then he'd put another layer. It was really not an efficient system, and so there was a lot wrong with the house, and oh, it was just nasty. It smelled really bad in there too. Luckily you can't smell it by looking at this picture because it was really awful. Um, what you can't see is on this left picture, the before picture, you can't see the floor. It was this really gross linoleum tile stuff. And what we found out when we got the inspection was that the toilet and the vanity were only being held on, and the only reason they were still there was because of the linoleum, because termites had bitten through all of the wood in the floor. So if that linoleum hadn't been there, you would have just been peering into the basement. So that was something that we had to fix. So that we incurred a little more cost from that than we anticipated. But the picture on the right, I am so happy with how this bathroom turned out. Just a total 180. The only thing that's the same is the bathtub because that was the only salvageable thing. We put a new toilet, put a new vanity, all new tile, and we got the tile at the Habitat for Humanity restore. It was only about $50 to $70 for all of that tile for the whole bathroom. So, pretty inexpensive because we were planning to rent it, so we weren't trying to spend a whole lot. But it ended up looking really good anyways. Let's see.
Yeah, that
Here,
was,
I'm not sure
yeah.
where the slide went with my tax lien.
Oh, that one it's after the credit building one.
Oh,
So we
okay,
have
perfect.
the stuff will pop up here. But yeah, just going back to that property, that's really cool, and that actually shows a lot about the strength of the community that you were able to um, leverage the community and your relationships and work on a deal in a completely different state from where you are. So I had a question, and our guests, if you have any questions as well, feel free to type them in, and we'll get to them as we see them. But I was just curious. So, did you were you in, or did you have to come and visit the property in Kansas City while the rehab work was going on?
No, I actually never saw the property in person until the closing day. We did a walkthrough right before the closing to make sure everything was as we thought it would be. And then did the closing, came back to Denver, and then I haven't been back since. And I'm not even sure if I'll have to go back there to close on it when we sell it. So I just went once, and even then I probably didn't even have to go that time either. I just wanted to.
That's pretty amazing. And that's just
Yeah, it
the
was
beauty of
nice.
the whole of what we have here. So that's cool. Another question I had, you guys did an amazing job with that bathroom, and you can't even tell that that's the same tub after you've cleaned up everything else. I came across an issue like that, and it was a big surprise for us when we did. But did you mentioned the termite damage? Now, did you have to um, pretty much rebuild that entire bathroom?
Yes, actually, the person we hired to do the construction, he specializes in foundations and repairing, you know, like the support you need, like that type of, I don't know. I'm not the construction minded. I don't even have the right terms for it. So it's luckily I don't need to. I have a team for that. But so he and this other guy, the other guy that was working with him, they went and got the wood at Home Depot and just did it themselves because that was what they specialized in.
Okay, awesome. And we did have a question from Pat here. I think you kind of touched on that already. And Pat's asking, did your contacts in Kansas City go to the rehab? Is that why you didn't have to?
Um, they stopped by during the rehab, but it wasn't to check on it. They actually went there to show. They had a couple people who were looking to join our community, and so they wanted to see something in action, so I just let them go in and they toured the property, but they didn't check on it per se because the it was really minimal. Like it needed paint, it needed carpet. This was the room that needed the most. The whole house didn't need a rehab. That's why we only spent 10 grand on it. So no, they didn't check on it for us while we were gone. They would have. It wasn't really necessary.
All right, cool. Yeah, it
Yeah,
didn't look
you're
so
welcome.
bad from the outside, but
No, this was just the nastiest room. That's why I did the before and after. It was so bad.
all right, awesome. So you had this deal was your most recent deal, but you had some other stories you wanted to share with us on how you progressed to this deal as well, correct?
Yes.
So if you like, you can
Okay.
skip over well, let's do the credit building one, and then we'll go over to the tax liens you want to talk about.
Yeah, perfect. So before I got started in Renatus, I was 20 years old. I was in college. I had one $500 credit line. I had just started building my credit. And through our credit classes, through some other classes about raising capital and things like that, I've actually turned that one $500 credit line into now I have over $90,000 in credit at my disposal. And a lot of it is still unused. I'm still trying to figure out what to do with it, but some of it I have used to invest. Part of it I used on that Kansas City duplex. 30 grand of it, more than 30 grand of it, I should say, is at 0% interest and will be for at least another year. And essentially, what I've done is I've done some lending with it. There's some of my colleagues in Denver, some of the people in the group have some fix and flips going on, and they needed, 5 grand here, 10 grand here to gap fund their deal until it closed, until the new buyer came in and bought it. And so I've lent some money there, and that is actually how I've made some of my profits in the past 6 months. So that was just another creative way that I got to invest that was really cool because, starting at 20, 22 years old, I didn't have, stores of cash just waiting for me to use to go invest. So I kind of had to get creative so I could have those resources at my disposal. Um, so with that, I've started to build up my reserves so that when someone comes to me with a deal, I'm a lot more able to partner with them now than I was, say, 2 years ago when I first got started. So this house in the picture is one of the houses I've lent on. It's a really beautiful 4,000 square foot house in Denver that one of my friends is flipping. So that's cool. Just another way that I've made some income taking money I didn't have essentially and lending it out. I was getting it at 3 to 6% and lending it out at anywhere from 15 to 25%. So the returns are really good there.
Awesome. Um, so yeah, I had a question I wanted to ask. So, I mean, most of us at 22 don't have piles of cash to start investing with, and I think it's not only just 22.
True.
I think that's the biggest obstacle for most people looking to enter investing and feel like the cash needs to be readily available to them on hand for them to start. But um, what are some of the most powerful things that you learned that you didn't know before that helped you establish the credit profile that got you access to the resources that you use to then invest?
Well, I guess the most powerful class for building my own personal credit, because I went from like a 630 score to like 770. So I learned a lot from Eric Counts just because he delves really deep into what our score is made up of, like what our profile is made up of, what's actually on our report, what actually matters. And I just essentially took exactly what he said and did it, and it worked. And so it keeps working. I was like amazed at how well it worked. So the classes work because our instructors, that was just a testament to me about how qualified our instructors are because if you just follow what they list out for you to do and the action steps for you to take, you're going to get the results that they're telling you. So that was good for me because that was like my credit was where I started in this when I first got into investing because I had nothing. So that really helped me kind of solidify that I was in the right place because it was actually working for me in a way that I could not have anticipated.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it looks like you have a solid foundation for not only your business now, but also for your future business as it grows.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, cool. So you did have another story to share with us on a different deal, and I believe that's your
Yes.
tax lien deal there. Yeah. So tell us about
Yes.
this one.
This is the first investment I ever made. It was October of 2016. It's been exactly 2 years at this point. And this is the house that I own the tax lien against. It's a really nice house in Denver, well, Lakewood, Colorado, if you're familiar with the area. Basically, I'm going to either get a 10% guaranteed return on this tax lien, or in October of 2019, I will have ownership of this property. So the way that works is, I bought this tax lien for $350, which is ludicrous. in October of 2016, and they have yet to pay me back. So it's been 2 years at this point. In Colorado, the redemption period is 3 years. So they have one more year to pay me back. And if that does not happen, I will be able to foreclose on their house and gain ownership of that house because my tax lien is in first position. So it's just crazy to me that it's $350 and that might potentially yield me a house. And this house is, let's see if it says, right now it's worth about $480,000. So I've looked up all the information I can about the guy who owns this house. He bought it in 1987 and never refinanced. So, if he got a 30-year loan, it's now paid off. And I'm still trying to figure out why he hasn't paid me back. But, either way, I'll either make my money back with some interest or I'm going to get a really awesome house worth a lot of money next year. So that was just the first thing I did because it was so cheap and it was just about the only thing I could figure out to do with my own money. I figured out a lot more to do, using other people's resources as well. But I'm really excited for next year, and I just hope he does not pay me back. So I've got 12 months to go, guys.
That's awesome. I love Alvin's excitement over in the chat there. So he's really enjoying the
Alvin.
presentation. I agree. It's awesome. So I mean, that's not a bad start to get a 10% guaranteed ROI, and now you're looking at potentially acquiring a property for pretty much pennies on the dollar. I don't know what the entire process is. I'm not familiar with it myself, but I mean, you're in for 350 and might possibly walk away with a property worth 480,000. So that's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm in at $350. And basically, whatever it costs to foreclose, that's all I have to pay. Which, it's expensive, but if it's free and clear, it's worth it. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, keep us posted on that. Maybe you'll be back maybe back next year with a different story on this particular property along with other deals that you have going on. Um,
Absolutely.
Awesome, thank you. So also, so you do have another slide to share with us here of some of the personal lessons that you've taken away from your education and being involved in the community. So if you want to just shed some light on some of those and share with us those lessons.
Absolutely. So the first one, fortune favors the action takers. For a long time, I was taking classes, going to seminars, doing masterminds, but I wasn't putting offers on houses. I wasn't talking to homeowners, and I just, at one point, I just came to the realization, like, how am I going to wake up with $1 million in my bank account if I'm not even putting an offer on a house? It's just not how it works in this industry. So we have to take action on what we learn. You are the average of the 5 people you're surrounded by. So if you hang out with 5 people who are super fit and super healthy, you'll be the sixth. If you hang out with 5 people who are, ambitious go-getters, you'll be the sixth. But the same goes conversely. If you hang out with 5 people who are overweight, you'll be the sixth. So I've just made it a practice to surround myself with people who are doing what I want to do. Um, Another thing I learned, we have idea problems, not money problems. I was the person who said, I want to be a millionaire before I'm 30, but I'd go to Chipotle and I wouldn't spend $1 to put avocado on my burrito bowl. And, that's just really contradicting. How am I supposed to Alvin, stop, you're distracting me. How do we reconcile that? We can't have those contradicting beliefs. One is going to win out over the other. Um, so I decided I want those millionaire mindset habits. So I've done a lot of personal development around what I'm telling myself. Um, and then reality is created in our language. If I'm telling myself I'm a successful business owner who helps people all over the country, that is going to be my reality, and I'm inevitably going to move towards that. And then our success is dependent upon our willingness to have uncomfortable conversations. All of the capital I've raised in my business, all of my business partnerships have arisen because I got over being uncomfortable and decided to, take that leap, have those uncomfortable conversations. If I hadn't, I'd probably still be at my job making $13 an hour. One of my favorites, real estate is endlessly creative. Everyone in our community is doing something different, which I so love because that means we can all work together and do more. Some of us like fix and flip. Some of us like rentals. Some of us like storage units. Some of us don't want to ever own a house. And I think that's so cool because whatever we're passionate about, I've just realized we can make it about real estate somehow. I'm passionate about working with people with disabilities. And now my goal is to build centers for adults with disabilities. Still real estate, still working with disabilities, but I get to fuse my passion and make a profit from it. So I'm really excited for that. And then this last one goes back to my quote from Jen Sincero: you bring unique solutions and solutions that the world needs. You are the only you there is. You are the only you there ever will be. And, sometimes we play really small and think that we don't have a lot to contribute that's unique or different than what people are already doing. But I've just learned that everyone brings such unique skills. And I had to learn this for myself too, because I had some self esteem issues when I first became a business owner. Like, I'm awesome, you know? Like, I I bring solutions that the world needs. I have the power to make a difference that no one else can, and I'm excited to work together with all of you to make that difference. And yeah. So if you haven't read the book You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero, I would highly, highly recommend it. And those are some of the key personal lessons I've taken away since I've joined this group.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Actually, um, where you started, even at the presentation earlier today, when you were talking about that basically at your job they put a limit on your potential at $13 an hour, and now after you're using your success that is generated from the education, you have an opportunity to harness your true passion, or something that you're obviously very passionate about, and kind of marrying that with the real estate, and just really leaving a mark and really affecting the lives of more people in a stronger position than you may have even ever been able to, working the job that you left behind. So that just shows really the power of it, and being free, like you said, financially free, and having control. So that's beautiful. I love how that kind of came together, and that you're still working towards um, serving that purpose that you identified for yourself as well. So, Megan,
Yeah, thank you.
absolutely. Megan, I wanted to thank you, and for sharing your success on your journey so far. And for everyone here, as you can see, the opportunity is available for those willing to make the commitment and take action, as Megan has clearly demonstrated here.